in the month of August 9th, Kenyans will be streaming right here to exercise their right as they decide who is going to be their president. I'm told so many have been coming through since IEBC made this polling station as one of them that will be registering diaspora members to become part of the big community exercising their right to vote. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Arts in Heart. And yes, you're used to seeing me on the camera, but tonight I'm behind the camera because we have Ambassador Amolo, and I would love him to introduce himself.
Thank you very much, Eli, and I want to welcome you to our precincts here at the Embassy of Kenya in Berlin, Germany. Our location is Rhein Babenallee 49. We have moved from downtown Mitte, downtown Berlin, where we used to be on Margrafenstrasse. We are now in the outskirts, and I want to welcome Eli and his wonderful program here in Berlin. My name is Tom Amolo. I'm Ambassador of Kenya here in Germany with concurrent accreditation to Poland and Czech, which means concurrent non-residential accreditation. It means that I am representing the interests of Kenya in Poland and Czech Republic, but out of Berlin. And I'm a career diplomat. I joined the service in 1983, and I came to Berlin on the 12th of February, 2021. So I'm delighted that I'm here, and we have been entrusted by the IEBC as a registration center and as a polling station for the elections to be held on the 9th of August 2022. And the exercise, which began on the 23rd of January and ended on the 4th of February, garnered 314 registered voters. As a polling station, we should have gone up to about 700, but this is a good effort, and I'm very confident in future it shall change.
Ambassador, 314 being the registered voters that are looking forward to vote in the August polls. What does this translate when we talk about the diaspora population and representation from here to Kenya?
The important thing to realize is that enabling the diaspora to be a critical part of the development of Kenya is an evolutionary process. It is constant and it will always improve. We started a few elections back only with East Africa. It has now expanded, includes Europe, Asia, and Americas, and Africa as well. So this is an opportunity. As you know, Germany is the fourth largest economy in the world. It is a center of Europe, and we've been given this opportunity. The diaspora is a constituency in itself. Because of the way the Constitution is written and because of this evolutionary process in enabling the diaspora to be part of the democratic process in Kenya, we can only vote for the president. So the diaspora citizens of Kenya can only vote for the president. The next time, if the law changes, we may be facilitated to vote for other members of our legislature and so on. So this is what it means. So 314 out of Berlin, you maybe get another 300 out of London, 400 out of Los Angeles, and so on and so forth. Put together, that will be the diaspora vote, which will put in this big basket called the presidential vote, and it will be tallied as part of the presidential vote. So luckily we're able to vote for the president. God willing, and if the legislation changes, we shall be able to vote for the other candidates in our electoral process.
Fair enough, 314 is quite a number to be proud about, depending on the targets you had. But if you compare the population against the registration, does this not create some
reason for them not to complain when the election happens?
A human being's democratic right cannot be imposed on them. It is for you to take it, embrace it, and live it. I saw the chairman of the IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, exhorting Kenyans in Marsabit a couple of days ago and urging them to come out in numbers. The intention of the IEBC was to have a number of 4.5 million voters registered. At that time, we were only at 500,000 plus. And it is not possible for the IEBC to force Kenyans to register. Equally here in the diaspora, you, Eli, came all the way from Brussels to Berlin to register. You spent your hard-earned Kenya shillings and came here. It is incumbent on the Democrat in all of us to exercise this right. So we've got 300 votes. Those who have not registered will not be able to exercise their rights here. They may be registered in Kenya and will be able to travel there. But why go through the cost again of taking a flight into Kenya when you could easily have done it here? So I am very positive about it. I'm excited about the numbers. It could have been better. We could have had facilitation. But as the law exists, the registration had to be done here in Berlin because it's a polling station, it's a registration center, which is gazetted in the Kenya Gazette and cannot be changed. Maybe the next time with petitions from you in the diaspora, this can change. It can be mobile, there can be other stations in Frankfurt or Munich or Brussels. We don't know. But for now, it is only here in Berlin. After this process, there will be a process called verification. I've been told that the verification process does not have to be in person, I've been told. But hopefully, the IEBC will clarify that. And when the time comes, after the verification, on election day on 9th of August, then people must come in person and put their votes in the ballot box to elect their leader.
And again, that's quite some milestone you've covered. I will say IEBC in conjunction with the mission here. Mr. Ambassador, the greatest concern about most Kenyans, and probably this is one of the reasons that many might not have shown up, is the logistic aspect of this process. Do we have any foreseen future plans to make this process easier, probably electronically or not?
The first is to re-emphasize the importance of the constitutional duty and the thirst for exercising one's democratic rights. I remember my late mother walking for 4 or 5 miles to the nearest registration center to register to vote. Nobody asked her, and she just said, I am going to. And she walked 4.5 miles the next time around in order to vote. And she went alone the first time, another time she went with a group because they were excited about their democratic rights. And so this is a woman in the village walking for 5 miles. Maybe in Germany here and other places not much. But I put it to you that to catch a train from Frankfurt to Berlin, to exercise one's rights, is not a bad thing to do. Equally, there are those in Kenya who have taken buses from Nairobi to Hayega, to Ikolomani, to South Mugirango, to be able to register there using their own resources. Now, so that's the first thing. The second thing is, living in the diaspora, living in Germany, there are ways in which people can organize themselves. The first thing is organization. All of you in the diaspora have organizations. So it's very easy to take some of the money from your chamas and say, out of this, every month we'll take 10 euros and put it aside for transportation, which will enable us to achieve our civic obligations. That's the first thing. The second thing, you can also leverage your networks within the civic space inside the diaspora to go, say, to the Institute of Democratic Affairs in Brussels and say, we are Kenyans, we want to exercise our democratic rights. We need facilitation to catch a bus and go to Berlin. Maybe they'll be able to say, okay, we can underwrite your effort with a bus, maybe. But again, it is very rare for other countries to involve themselves in a democratic process financially so that the people themselves can achieve their own democratic aspirations. But it's incumbent on you to do it yourself, to say, I am going to do it myself. I'm going to walk my 4 miles. I'm going to put my 10 euros. I'm going to come on a, for example, we were open one whole weekend and the numbers were very low. From 9 to 5, we had very small numbers. Yesterday, there was a crash, last minute. Of course, we are experts at the last minute game, but I think it's more important to say that we don't need to do it that way. We can organize better. We have associations among ourselves which enable us to stand on our own on social issues. We could easily leverage that or put that in a place that enables us to achieve our democratic aspirations.
That's quite informative. We want to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want us to tackle why are you actually in Germany and in Europe for that matter, because a lot of Kenyans are wondering, why do we have embassies?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's take a break.
Kwa mfuko nilikuwa na chupa makings na miraa isaidia nyuma.
Ulikuwa unakula miraa pia? Okay.
Hizo vitu zote usifanye. Usifanye soma. Sasa chupa makings ilikuwa hapa. Sasa nimelala chini like wanafikiria kenye watanifanyia. My friend mwingine akakuja kama amepiga mmoja akasonga. Simi ndo nikasimama nikasema songine ama niitoe like ilikuwa imefura lakini wako najua ni chupa. Wakatupatia way.
So they thought it was a gun.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are still here with Ambassador Amolo, and he's doing quite well. Sir, thank you so much for having us.
You're most welcome.
Mr. Ambassador, most of the time Kenyans ask questions. Why do we have an embassy in the first place here in Germany?
Well, you have an embassy because you have a government. And you have a government to take care of your interests. The embassy is here to represent your interests. You elected a government, and that government has embassies abroad. These embassies are here to enhance the interests of Kenya, to enhance your interests, whether you're in diaspora or whether you're in Kenya. Now, what are these interests? These interests are everything from education, to investment, to agriculture, to defense, to politics. When I say politics, international relations. So our job here is to enable the people of Kenya to enhance their interests, to protect, project, and to enhance the interests of the people of Kenya and the government of Kenya, who you as a people of Kenya have elected. Now, in our case, this articulation of our interest was devolved into something called the Big Four. And you know what the Big Four is: issues of investment, trade, manufacturing, infrastructure, and so on. I, as the ambassador of Kenya, since I came here in February 2021, have been trying to ensure that these interests are enhanced, not only in Germany, where I'm physically present, but now since we have concurrent accreditation, non-physical, in Poland and in the Czech Republic, I'm also supposed to do that there. Now, what is Kenya's national interest? What do we have to gain by having an embassy here? Number one, Germany is the fourth largest economy in the world. It is the largest economy in Europe. It is the most technologically developed. It has got a surplus of energy, of activities in terms of IT, ICT, in terms of all the technologies you can think of. My job is to leverage our abilities to tap into some of this. Number two, it has got some of the best educational institutions in the world. My job is to facilitate not only for the issues of science and technology, but also issues of social development, okay? The arts, which my brother Eli is involved in. And it brings me to an important area. The Kenya government has a plank in its foreign policy called cultural diplomacy. What is cultural diplomacy? Cultural diplomacy is leveraging our various talents in the arts, in music, and so on, to elevate the profile of the nation so that people find us acceptable and warm, and so they can come and visit, they can come and invest. Our biggest export in the past few years has been our athletes. So that is cultural diplomacy for you. Sauti Sol is a cultural export. All the artists that we have. So we want to leverage this element of us, okay, into the international sphere so that Germans, the Belgians, Europeans everywhere are comfortable with Kenya and find themselves able to visit. So these are some of the things that we do. In addition, we want to be able to become your local Huduma center. Right now, you can get your passport here. What we've asked Nairobi to do for us is for us to be able to be a one-stop shop for IDs, for marriage certificates, so what you need. And we want to make this thing innovative in a sense that you can even do it online. So I'm in Bruges and I want to do something. Go online with a secure link. I'm able to renew my ID and they can send it to me. Or I need to do something because you need a center to be able to do this. These are some of the things that we do. Now, we also have people in Kenya Kenya is an agricultural country. And even Eli, here, I understand, will soon be digging in a shamba growing avocados in Hayega. We want to be able to say, if you're growing avocados in Hayega and you follow the processes, phytosanitary processes, you can export these and you'll be able to tap into the green gold. Because Germany and Europe is a center of accepting horticultural products and enabling people everywhere to sell these products. So we want to enable Kenyans to sell the agricultural produce. Those who are able to pack fish properly, we're able to sell that product here. Our coffee, our tea, our pyrethrum, this is our job. We have here in the office a trade advisor, but the chief trade attaché is the ambassador of Kenya. The chief tourism officer is the ambassador of Kenya. The chief investment officer is the ambassador of Kenya. And our job is to ensure that those of us who want to do business in Europe come through the embassies. Those who want to do business in Germany come through me. I am supposed to link them with other institutions that enable them to make money. Why do we want Kenyans to make money? Because this money goes back and helps our people. It builds the country. The country, people are taxed. That money goes to build institutions, enable better health care, address the challenges of COVID, and so on and so forth. That is what the embassy does. And you, as members of the diaspora, are our biggest resource is human capital. This human capital resides not only in Kenya, but also abroad. And so we are able to tap the various talents of the Kenyan diaspora in Kenya and abroad and enable us to penetrate places we could not do before, but also to elevate the ability to deliver for themselves and for the people of Kenya. So this is what we do for the people of Kenya here abroad. And the interest of a Kenyan, if a Kenyan, for example, runs afoul of the law, the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations says that the entity that has arrested that Kenyan has to get in touch with me and say, we have a Kenyan in this particular location. Come and check them out. I may not be able to pull you out, but the rule says I have to be able to see you and make sure that you're okay. And if there are things I can do to facilitate and alleviate the challenges you're going through, that is also my job.
A lot of Kenyans ask me, Ellie, I have a child who has been born here in Germany or in Europe, and I have no idea how I can get them to have their nationality as Kenyans. And of course, the issue of ID cards. How does this work? I know it's on your website, but kindly break it down.
Well, first of all, you'd be happy to note, Eli, that the Constitution has changed. In other words, we allow for dual nationality, dual citizenship. You can be a Belgian and a Kenyan. You can be a German and a Kenyan. Unfortunately, there are some countries that do not allow dual citizenship. Some countries do not allow. Other countries allow multiple citizenships. Okay? Germany here is evolving out of the situation where it said you could not have it. I'm not familiar very much with Belgium, but I'm familiar that here, the new government, the so-called traffic light coalition government, has said they have to be able to tap the various talents of the world. So they will be putting legislation, I hope, down the line to enable dual citizenship. Actually, not only dual, multiple citizenships. So that if you're from Poland and you live in Germany, you have both a citizen of Poland and a citizen of Germany. If you're a Kenyan and you live in Germany, you can be both a citizen of Germany and in Kenya. What does that do? It unlocks value, both for Germany and for Kenya. You're not constrained when you want your child to travel to Kenya. He has both a Kenyan passport and a German passport. When he wants to get land, he's not constrained by saying, oh, if you're a foreigner, these are the rules for you. If you're a Kenyan, these are the rules for you. So you're free to invest, you're free to move, you're free to achieve your life's objectives. With Kenya, we have no difficulty. You can have dual citizenship. With other countries, legislation should be coming. And I advise you, as Kenyans, wherever you are, organize yourselves. If you're already citizens, organize yourselves and seek legislative help from your members of parliament and say, this is what we would like. Can you help us achieve it? I lived and worked in the United States of America, and I can tell you, there are communities there that now have members of Congress, and they organize themselves in such a way that they were able to ensure that their nationality got more space in terms of access to government services wherever they're from. And they organize themselves. So it's incumbent on you to organize, have leadership, write it down, and put it forward. Equally, when it comes to addressing issues in Kenya, do not just talk in the air and attack each other viciously. Organize, put it on paper, get your representatives to represent your interests in Parliament, to put together the package of legislation that enables you to live your lives and achieve your life's objectives.
When we talk about tourism, people start thinking about the Mara, people think about Ole Pejeta and all that. And of course, the coast will not think about great weather and sandy beach. Ambassador, would you say Kenya as it is can still rely on tourism for income?
Absolutely. I tell you this. Tourism, as all nations, we evolve. And as we speak today, the kind of tourism I saw when I was 30 years old and the kind of tourism that exists today is like night and day. Younger people are more on the circuit, they're traveling more. And when they go to places like Kenya, they don't go and see wildlife. They go and interact with other human beings. They go and they've heard about sail flying or something, or rock climbing, or they've heard of the wonderful discos in Mombasa, or they've been able to. So you find the demographics of tourism has changed. In other words, when you go somewhere, you have to touch another human being. COVID affected our tourism. What I've seen now is an upcoming possibility that the tourism market is going to burgeon, is going to grow again. Minister of Tourism of Kenya, Najib Balala, has done a wonderful job. And so we've seen numbers climbing up again. We find tourists from Bulgaria, which I used to represent, okay, and I actually caused that Bulgarian tourists to come into Kenya and to Mombasa. So it's not only going to be tourism in the Mara, in Amboseli, and so on. It's going to be tourism in the cities, interacting with people. So that's number one. Number two, because of health issues, the challenge of coming with a platform that enables everybody to be secure, the so-called COVID passport, is going to be important. And I've seen Africa, we're coming with something, the Europeans have their own. Soon that's going to enable people to travel. The third thing is, because tourism is also a place where you have to invest. Our hotels, no longer anecdotal, are experiencing a big spurt in growth. But this spurt is not only foreigners, it's also locals. Because the rise of the middle class in Africa and in Kenya has enabled people to say, I'm going for a weekend to Mombasa. In the old days, to go to Mombasa was once every 3 years. Now, it is every weekend. People go to the Mara for a weekend and Amboseli. So there's a good mix of tourist number. What kind of tourism are we seeing also? We're also seeing the kind that moves away from harming the environment. A tourism that says, if the Mara, if you go to the Mara, you'd crisscross the Mara with your trucks. Now they say parts of the Mara are no-go areas. And it's incredible when you see it, because you see some places really flourishing. So that is also going to be an important part of opening up the tourism market. I can tell you that Kenya is really one of the best places to go into and enjoy tourism. Because from there, you can springboard into Tanzania and back. You can go to Uganda and back. You can go to Rwanda and back. One can argue, oh, then why can't we just start in Rwanda then? No, the infrastructure that has been developed over the years. Out of Nairobi, you can go 4 hours into any part of the continent, any part, by air, in a good aircraft. The good roads enable you to travel anywhere. So the infrastructure, and the infrastructure doesn't only mean roads, it means access to the internet. It means access to good healthcare. It means access, if there's a problem, it also means good weather. People come back from Kenya and they say, whoa, lovely. I can enjoy the warmth and I can come and enjoy the cool breeze of Nairobi and the highlands. So it's a one-stop shop. The second thing I want to say is to talk a bit about climate change in relation to tourism and the environment. Nairobi is a headquarters of the United Nations office at Nairobi. It is a headquarters of UNEP, United Nations Environment Program. It is also the office of the headquarters of UN Habitat. So the challenge of climate change and the so-called climate crisis. This has been the place where now, as UNEP turns 50, the celebrations we'll be having will be able to elevate the place of Nairobi as the only global UN headquarters in the global south. And people will be able to address these multiple challenges of climate change and so on, using existing frameworks out of Nairobi so as not to reinvent the wheel. And because of that, we're having good partnerships with UNFCCC here in Bonn, out of Belgium, and so on and so forth. The reason why I bring this up, because climate change, or what we now call the climate crisis, is affecting everybody. Sea level rises. If you look at recently this problem of the volcano erupting in the ocean, flooded islands. And by the way, it found its way all the way into the Pacific. When we had the tsunami, it found its way to Kenya, Mombasa. So environment is going to be very important as we go forward. And I believe that those of you with networks out here will be able to elevate the place of the environment in addressing climate change and using Nairobi as a hub of managing this challenge.
There's been a lot of issues when it comes to environment conservation. How are we doing as a country? Because we are told most of the time the people that interfere with our environment are actually foreigners that come to invest in the country by disregarding the laid environmental procedures. What is your opinion on this from where you sit?
Thank you this is a very critical question, and I want to thank you for bringing it up. The first thing is that we have seen a diminution of forest cover in Kenya since our independence. And because of the activities and the policies of the Kenyan government directed through the Ministry of Environment, we've seen a huge increase in the planting of trees. And the forest cover, I can estimate, is going to quickly ramp up to the targets that we intend them to be. Every other day, every other week, we've seen tree planting in forests or in neighborhoods. So I'm very positive that that's going to definitely have an impact. So that's number one. Number two, we uphold Kenya's wildlife and as the common heritage of mankind. The common heritage of mankind, which we as Kenya hold in trust for posterity. We hold this environment, this wildlife, in trust for posterity. Now, what we've been able to do over the years, and especially lately, is to protect the pachyderms in particular. For example, the elephants, the kind of activities that has been going on in a dedicated manner to protect wildlife everywhere and to push away those who want to cull elephants for tusks is something that we are religious about, and we will continue to fight it. And luckily, we are seeing some of the bigger countries now that heretofore would periodically get elephant tusks, rhino horns, and so on. They've now come up with stringent laws to push back against this illegal trade. So the international community is working better together, and Kenya again is at the forefront, including with the CITES Convention and so on. So with the wildlife, it's also happening. The third area is biodiversity. What is biodiversity? It's the ability of the various plants, the flora and fauna, wherever we come from, which are original, are replicated, are able to grow on their own, or able to be sustained in natural growth, so that the intricate mix of biological species are able to integrate into a wholesome piece for posterity. And that too, the government is not only nationally involved and managing the several counties, but also internationally. Now, because of this, we have also taken a very tough posture on those who come with investment that seek to undermine the gains that we have had over the years. So even with an institution called NEMA, National Environment Management Authority, I am familiar with its activities. And I can tell you that before you're able to begin a construction project, to begin a project of any kind, the impact studies have to be agreed to and the government signs off on it. Those who cut corners, I'm able to authoritatively tell you that their projects have been stopped. So unluckily, sometimes some people cut corners and we catch them only when they've been able to go far. However, because of these policies, we are confident that the policies we put in place are going to be able to manage the risk of having our environmental concerns, our environmental policies undermined on the altar of progress, if you will. So we are in a very good place. And I want to summarize to say that this flora and fauna that we enjoy, do not take it for granted. Habitat loss, wildlife loss is a reality everywhere. I was reading somewhere that now even our pachyderms, the numbers that we're seeing today, are steadily declining, despite the efforts. So it's incumbent on all of us everywhere, not only in our individual capacities, but linking up with the societies, with the groups wherever we are, and the governments, to work in a collaborative manner to ensure that this biodiversity, this wildlife, and this environment, our forests, are kept in a way that is sustainable in the long run.
What is your final message to the Kenyan diaspora in relation to ethnicity?
It is critical that we always pursue the philosophy in many, one. Out of many, one. That in unity, you can still have diversity. All Kenyans have to realize that we are first Kenyans, then the ethnic community. And that we should never struggle to fight one or the other. You can be a very good Luhya and be a very good Kenyan at the same time, without harming the interests of the other community. What we have to fight against is to make ourselves into cocoons that do not enrich themselves with the blood and ideas of others. The only reason why nations thrive is the interaction of ideas over centuries. And there is nobody who is ever going to say they are pure. Everybody is mixed. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, if we do not, as a nation, enjoy the benefits of our diversity, we can never really come out and say that we're a developed country. All the nations of the world that have ever become anything have been able to leverage the various skills and of their people into a whole that they push and project for the benefit of the nation. And the last thing on this one is this. When your daughter comes to you and tells you, I met a nice man who comes from South Mugirango and you're from East Mugirango, don't say, no. Enable them to go ahead. We have to be liberal in enabling our children to enjoy the fruits of the world. My children are as comfortable in Washington as they are in Nairobi. They're as comfortable in Kisumu as they are in Kisii, and so on and so forth. We should be able to enable our people to thrive wherever they are. But let me finish on this note. Underlying or the basis of who we are in diaspora, first of all, we're Africans. So the narrative that we as Africans have to pursue, push, is what I call the affirmative African narrative. What is the affirmative African narrative? Is that you're intrinsically yourself good. You have to comport, carry yourself as an African. You should not second guess yourself to the extent that you begin changing your skin color. You begin changing your hair because you want to look in a different way, because you strongly believe that if you undermine who you are, then you become a better version of who somebody else is. It's not going to be possible. The strength of who you are comes from your Africanness, from your Kenyanness. You should hold it and embrace it. And you should enable your children to thrive with this affirmative African narrative. We have to remember that we are Kenyans, we live together. We also have a very good democracy. We have something which I would like to refer to as Kenya's democratic credentials. From our independence in 1963, we are the only country in that part of the world and in the continent that has religiously had these elections. Now, some have been challenged, but still, these elections now have proved and our ability to talk freely, freedom of expression, freedom of religion, that these credentials can be parlayed into different parts of the continent. The other day I was reading that Africa is facing a global recession on democracy. Indeed, we've seen coups in different parts of the continent. And we in Kenya have to cherish and jealously uphold our democratic rights. That is why it is so critical for you to exercise your democratic rights. On the 9th of August, 2022, you have to come and say, this is the direction I wish my country to go. And I believe that these leaders we are choosing are the ones who are going to take us in that direction. The last thing is, you are citizens in foreign countries. You have to respect the laws of these nations. You have to abide by the letter and the spirit of these laws. You should not come here and undermine the legal parameters that they built to manage their societies. Because it is only when we're able to live legally among the people of Europe that we're able to thrive and are able to build our societies back home. Lastly, you have in us, the ambassadors of Kenya in Europe, a resource. Do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are accessible. The ambassador of Kenya in Brussels met Eli and told Eli, I have an open door policy. Eli has promised me he's going to go and see him. He has promised me, Ambassador Kaimenyi, that he will welcome Eli. You must know the President Uhuru Kenyatta will be visiting Brussels soon. He's going to attend the EU-Africa Summit. He's going to be representing our interests. He's going to be talking about the issues that are of importance to Africa, from COVID, vaccine equity, to wildlife conservation, to conflict resolution, is going to be pushing out to investment, to jobs, okay? Thereafter, the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Kenya, Rachel Omamo, will be here in Germany, will be attending the Munich Security Conference, where she will be pushing the agenda of conflict resolution, women, peace and security, climate, peace and security, and pushing an agenda that says all these things are interlinked, and we have to find an opportunity, a place within the international, the global commons, to fight terrorism, to enable our people to fight for democratic rights. And then we will be able to put forward an agenda for the world that says Kenya being in the UN Security Council is a boon not only to Kenya, but to all of Africa. And I want to thank you, Eli, for being part of this. Enable us to talk to the people of Kenya in diaspora and enable us to be part of the conversation that is so critical in developing our nations.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, for the opportunity you've offered us to speak to us and, of course, the rest of Kenyans watching us on the Arts in Heart. Remember, this is the perspective that comes to you every single Thursday. We handle so many other topics. Join us to subscribe on the Arts in Heart on Facebook, YouTube, and without forgetting, follow us on Instagram and, of course, Twitter. See you next time, and until then, my name is Likuyani Eli and Ambassador Amolo here in Germany, Berlin. Good evening.
Asanteni sana.